What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing one final Championship Series Cup video featuring battles submitted to the channel by Adric, who's running a triple shadow bug team with Pinsir, Armaldo, and then a Pokemon so bad that even I haven't built it, XL Anorith. Now do note, this Anorith is a shadow, I just didn't have a shadow myself to take a snapshot for the graphic. So Anorith, believe it or not, is actually the most attack-weighted bug-type Pokemon in this meta, having a higher attack stat than the likes of Pinsir, Frostmoth, Excelgor, and Vikavolt, but it has the fast move options of Scratch and Struggle Bug, two of the worst fast moves in the entire game. Despite that, Adric is still able to pull off some crazy wins with it, so with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What is your favorite bug-type Pokemon? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, leading Shadow Pinsir into Obstagoon. So a really positive matchup for us. The opponent actually not on counter, instead running Lick, which is quite surprising in this meta where there are so many bulky normal type Pokemon, where of course Lick is resisted, whereas counter is going to be super effective. But anyways, we stay in with the Pinsir for quite a while. We farm up to back-to-back charge leads, grab a shield advantage, and then we swap into our Anorith. Now of course we shield the lunge there. These Volt Switches dealing huge damage, and because they lunge debuff us, we don't get the full farm down. We fully sacrifice the Anorith there, but that's probably the best play, as it turns out Armaldo is going to core break the remainder of their team, as of course they've got Galissapod. We are slightly ahead on energy, outpacing them to the Rock Blast, and Rock Blast grabs the final shield. We also use our final shield on the Aqua Jet, and we're also able to pull off a crazy catch there, catching a Obstruct onto our Shadow Pinsir, which does not get the KO, meaning Vice Grip is going to take out the Obstagoon. They come back in with Galissapod. We can outpace them to the Rock Blast here, and of course, not the best move, but Rock Blast is super effective. It takes out Galissapod from that range, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Sableye in the lead. So not the best matchup, as both our charge moves are resisted on the Shadow Pinsir, and so we swap into Armaldo. The opponent's going to come in with a double, but they don't farm up to the Wild Charge or the Payback, meaning Body Slam is resisted damage, and it still does decent damage there. Honestly, they will be able to double shield and farm us down if they really want to, but if they don't shield here, we can already reach a second charge move. Rock Blast, gonna get the KO from that range, and let's see what they want to do. They come back in with Sableye, but we actually don't give up any extra energy. Instead, swapping out straight away into our Shadow Anorith. They full send a Power Gem, which is massive overkill. Honestly, Foul Play definitely takes us out there, but we can now go for a Cross Poison. Cross Poison resisted damage, non-stab as well, but it still gets the KO, and we can reach a departing Cross Poison up against Dragalge. The opponent uses their first shield. We're now going to come in with the Shadow Pinsir, and we're able to make a brilliant catch there, catching a charge move onto Armaldo. It is unfortunately just an Aqua Tail bait, so I don't think that will help us in this battle too much. They should still be outpacing us to back-to-back Aqua Tails here, but let's see if there is any play. Now the opponent still has not thrown yet. I think maybe they're farming up to an Outrage, which means we've got back-to-back Vice Grips. Is this enough damage to KO? We've grabbed the final shield, and Vice Grip does get the knockout from that range. We're able to take out Dragalge, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Kingdra in the lead. Now, they will outpace us by a single turn. We're actually going to stay in. We don't look to try and make a catch or anything like that. Swift barely doesn't KO, and the Dragon Breath damage also doesn't quite take us out there, meaning we can grab a shield and then swap into our Anorith. Now, we're going to shield this, of course. This is just going to be a Swift, but honestly, even resisted Swift puts us into Dragon Breath farm down range. But actually, now, because we shield, we get a full Struggle Bug farm down. We're going to come out with a charge move loaded, and they're going to come in with a Sableye. Now, of course, going to go for Aqua Jet. Cross Poison is resisted. We grab a shield there. Unfortunately, Switch Clock not quite up in time, so we do give up quite a lot of energy there as they do farm us all the way down. We can come in with Armaldo, but they probably outpace us to the next charge move. But instead, they actually swap out into Ariados, which of course is going to be weak to the rock typing. But Rock Blast does not get the KO. We tried to make a catch there, but the opponent may be farming up to a Mega Horn, in which case, if this is the Mega Horn, it unfortunately takes out Armaldo, and we do end up losing that game. But GG's up in there. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Dunsparce in the lead. So not the best matchup for us. Of course, rollouts are going to hit for super effective damage. We could technically throw a close combat straight away on CMP, win CMP as well. But instead, we are going to shield here. I'm going to go for a Vice Grip bait. Vice Grip is going to be shielded by the Dunsparce, and we can just barely reach a second Vice Grip. Unfortunately, not quite reaching a close combat, but we grab both shields anyways, and this time it is a CMP tie. So going to no shield. Rock Slide is going to get the KO there. there. We're going to come in with the Anorith, and I honestly don't think we can go for a one shield full farm down here, but we are going to shield anyways as they fire off the rock side, but they end up swapping out and into a Vigoroth. So we're going to go straight for Aqua Jet. Aqua Jet does honestly decent damage there. We can come in with Armaldo and get a huge Fury Cutter farm down, and they're going to have a Malamar in the back. So that is absolutely game over. Fury Cutters are double super effective. We also drop their defense there. They come back in with the Dunsparce. We can outpace them to a Rock Blast here. And of course, Rock Blast gets the KO from that range, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, I can see Shadow Pinsir into Oranguru. So, of course, a positive matchup for us. The opponent going to be swapping out into a Galvantula, and we're going to look to throw on CMP. A bit risky up against a 4-turn fast move like Volt Switch, but we end up winning CMP, and we're actually just going to take that advantage. We're going to no shield, lunge, gets the KO there, and now we come in with the Anorith. Now, again, Anorith, unfortunately, just barely not getting the full farm down there, meaning we have to use a shield, and they go for a lunge debuff. We're now going to swap into Armaldo, and the opponent comes back in with the Oranguru. We're going to show the first charge move as the opponent is going to go ahead and bait with a brutal swing, but they're going to have a Shiftry in the back. Shiftry is double weak to the bug typing. Rock Blast grabs the final shield there, and we're still able to reach another charge move before the opponent ends up throwing any of their energy, meaning of course Rock Blast will get the KO from this range, and it looks like the opponent has just completely backed out of the app there, so apologies for this one. Going to be a slightly slow finish to the game here, but we commit to a full Fury Cutter farm down. Remember, we did have a charge move loaded on Anorith anyways, I believe, so I think we would have been able to win that game there. But either way, into the next battle, we're going to see Furret in the lead. So, a bit of a neutral matchup here. We are actually going to go straight for a Vice Grip here, knowing that we would win CMP up against Swift. However, the opponent does not throw straight away. We're going to swap out. We're just going to no-shield this. The opponent goes for Trailblaze, boosting up their attack stat and dealing huge damage in the process. We don't even reach a Cross Poison. We're now going to come in with Armaldo. I'm going to shield here as they go for another Trailblaze, boosting up their attack stat once again and dealing a lot of damage now with these Sucker Punches. We go for Rock Blast. They're going to use their final shield. We commit to a farm down. We don't quite get there in time, so we're just going to no-shield this. Trailblaze gets the KO. Pinsir has a lot of work to do here, but let's see. They come in with a Licky Licky. We're going to have to use our final shield here. We do have close combat, but we don't want to throw too early. And unfortunately, they swap out into, I believe, a low kicks. Vice Grip doesn't get the KO. That is also a shiny, really cool shiny flex there. And unfortunately, we do lose that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see Galvantula in the lead once again. So we've seen quite a lot of Galvantula. Surprisingly, most of these on Volt Switch as well, which I don't think is the right play for this meta. I think Fury Cutter is probably just the way because Volt Switch is resisted by more typings in the meta generally. Either way, they go for a discharge. That does huge damage. And again, Anorith just being used as a sacrificial lamb, essentially. We're going to come in with the Armaldo, and we are going to no-shield as they do just settle for a Body Slam there, which of course is resisted up against the rock typing. We're now going to fire off a Rock Blast. Rock Blast going to be no-shielded, and it puts them into, just barely not Fury Cutter farm down range before they get to another Body Slam, meaning we're forced to use a shield there, but we do get the full farm down. Their final Pokemon is going to be a Fracture, very spicy final pick. Unfortunately, it's not looking too good for us. We're going to shield the Night Slash. We are now going to overfarm as much as we can. Fire off the Vice Grip. Vice Grip gets the KO here. They save their shield for the Galvantula, and of course, they've got way too much HP. One Volt Switch gets the farm down. And unfortunately, we do lose that game. But into the next battle, positively matchup for us as we see a Giraffe Rig. The opponent's going to swap out into Arctobax, and we can farm up to a close combat and then bait with a Vice Grip. Vice Grip going to be shielded. We probably wait for them to throw an Icy Wind before we swap out. Actually, no, never mind. We're actually just going to no-shield this. Icy Wind gets the KO there. Again, going to come in with the Anorith, and we will be shielding. So, of course, going to be another Icy Wind. We're now going to swap out, clear the debuff, go for the Fury Cutter farm down. A little bit of lag. I don't think it affected us too much. And now they come back in with Giraffe Rig. Our Fury Cutters are shredding through their HP. Rock Blast gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be Obstagoon. This time around, they are going to be on counter as the fast move. Liquidation does big damage here, and that should be game over. I think one more Struggle Bug gets the full farm down, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we're going to see Frostlass in the lead. Really bad matchup for us. We will be swapping out straight away into Armaldo, and we can actually outpace them. It seems like they're on Hex as well as the fast move, so not as much fast move pressure. And again, I don't really know why you would run Hex in this meta unless you're seeing a lot of opposing Frostlass, I guess. Even then, I still don't think it's that great. Either way, we are going to look to shield here. Because they're on Hex, they do actually have slightly better energy generation than on Powder Snow. But either way, we can go for Rock Blast. Rock Blast, gonna get the KO there. They come in with Ariados, and this is still a fine matchup for us. We've seen already, though, Rock Blast won't quite get the one-shot, but it does grab the final shield. Now, the opponent, it looks like they do overfarm just a little bit here. They're going to fire off a Trailblaze, boosting up their attack stats. And now we're going to come in with the Anorith, likely just to fully sacrifice it once again. So Lunge gets the full-on one-shot there, but now, hopefully, they threw straight away, meaning we can get to a Vice Grip on the CMP tie, winning CMP. Vice Grip gets the KO, and their final Pokemon gonna be a Shadow Giraffe Rig, which we are able to outpace, reaching another Vice Grip. Vice Grip easily takes them out there, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, I see Shadow Pinsir into Licky Licky. Bit of a tricky matchup for us. Of course, rollouts are super effective. Yes, we've got close combat for coverage. But of course, they're going to deal a lot of damage here with the Body Slam. We're actually just going to bank the energy. I'm not sure about that. I feel like we should have maybe grabbed a shield first before swapping out. But either way, we're now going to shield as they full send a Shadow Ball there, which also not really a move that you see an awful lot in this meta. Either way, we're going to go for Liquidation, debuffing their defense there, meaning now we should be able to come in with the Anorith and get a full Struggle Bug farm down. But they actually swap out into Frostlass, but they end up catching a Rock Blast, which does huge damage. Unfortunately, though, Struggle Bug is resisted, so we can't quite get a full farm down. We're, of course, going to use our final shield, but I believe we do have a Vice Grip loaded on our Pinsir, so we do still have some play here. We're going straight for Aqua Jet. Aqua Jet going to be no-shielded by the opponent. Quite crazy considering we are a Rock-type Pokemon, but Cross Poison doesn't take us out. They come in with the Licky Licky, but I think we're just way too low on both our remaining Pokemon. Ideally, we need a full Fury Cutter farm down and to come out with back-to-back charge moves, but that's just never going to happen. So Body Slam takes us out. One more rollout, gets the full farm down, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But into the next match, I'm going to see Double in the lead. So actually a fairly decent matchup for us since we are going to be resisting the double kick damage. We're going to no-shield the first charge move as it will just be a Body Slam. And then what we might look to do is go for a Vice Grip bait and then potentially look to catch the next Body Slam onto our Armaldo or onto our Anorith. So we're going to swap out and we're going to do exactly that, catching onto Armaldo, where of course it is going to be resisted. The opponent going to stay in with the double, and we are just going to go straight for Liquidation here. Don't mind this play at all. Rock Blast maybe doesn't quite KO there, but Liquidation certainly gets the knockout. They come in with a second normal type Pokemon, this time gonna be a Miltank, and unfortunately they just barely outpace us to the Body Slam, which whilst resisted damage does end up getting the KO. This time, we're going to shield, even though we know it is a Body Slam, because we are obviously very glassy on the Anorith. We're now going to go for a Cross Poison. Cross Poison is going to grab the final shield here, and at this point, I'm not really sure what we do. We're going to shield this, of course, we have to shield here, but do we swap out yet, or are we going to stay in this matchup and just go for another Cross Poison? I guess Cross Poison will get the KO from this range. We should be swapping straight away into Pinsir, and Pinsir is going to reach a close combat. Does this do more damage than Vice Grip? Well, close combat, it doesn't matter. Vice Grip wouldn't take them out either, so unfortunately we do end up losing that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Pinsir into Sableye. Once again, not a great matchup for us. We'll be swapping out straight away into Armaldo. And the opponent is going to swap once again into a double. So I think this is exactly what happened last time we saw this lead matchup here. So Liquidation going to be shielded this time around. So it is a different battle. That's good to know. Either way, we go for a second Liquidation. Liquidation going to deal decent damage there. The opponent overfarming massively. They put us into range where Body Slam will actually get the KO there. So smart play on their end. And now we come in with the Anorith, but in farming up to a potential payback or a wild charge, they actually don't end up reaching a charge move at all. Unfortunately, they do have a Frostlass as well, which is really not good for the Shadow Pinsir, as we've only got resisted hits to throw. But we're going to shield here. The opponent going to go for an Avalanche. They swap back into Sableye, and now, of course, we're going to use our final shield. Now, I don't think we'll be able to put them into range where we can just settle for a Vice Grip, so we have to full send the Close Combat. Close Combat is just single resisted, however, so it gets the KO here, and can it take out a Frostlass? Again, it's only single resisted. Close Combat does get the KO there. Brilliant play by Adric, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, Shadow Pinsir into Shadow Drapion. Now, they will outpace us to a potential Arcatel, but if they commit to a crunch here, it will be a CMP tie. And of course, Pinsir gonna win that CMP tie. That doesn't quite KO there, where I think X is a maybe it still doesn't quite KO, but it would do slightly more damage there. Either way, we come in with Armaldo, we get the Fury Cutter farm down, we get a slight energy advantage, and they come in with a Malamar. Surely you've got a better response to a bug type than Malamar. Surely, right? Well, anyways, we're going to shield here. We're definitely just going to commit to a full Fury Cutter farm down. And let's see, what is their final Pokemon? Why did they come in with the Malamar? They had a Center Scorch, so I guess they are, of course, double weak to the rock typing, so maybe that makes sense. Either way, though, Rock Blast is going to grab the final shield, and we can reach another Rock Blast. It's double super effective. It easily gets the one shot, and so we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, Shadow Pinsir into Forest. So again, another matchup where we can force a CMP tie if they throw straight away, but they're actually going to swap out into a Dunsparce. And you know what? We've baited a few times. This time we are full sending close combat, and they do not respect it. It gets the full-on one-shot. That is huge for us. And now we're going to come in with Shadow Armaldo. Now previously they've gone for a Trailblaze and boosted up their attack stat, and Forest has been very difficult to deal with. This time they just settle for back-to-back Swift. So we're going to no-shield this. It is resisted damage. Again, it still does quite a lot of damage here. Even though Armaldo is the bulkiest Pokemon on this team, it's still not exactly a bulky Pokemon by any means, but we can reach back-to-back Rock Blast. That is huge. Rock Blast, number 2, gets the KO there. They're saving their shield for their final Pokemon, which is going to be a Spidops, and we can come in with the Anorith. Now, I think we just throw straight away. Unfortunately, they do just barely outpace us, and they throw a lunge here, of course, debuffing our attack stat. So we clear the debuff. I love this play here. This should guarantee an Aqua Jet gets the KO. Vice Grip is going to grab the final shield, and we are just going to throw straight away here. No messing around. They're not going to be at the charge move just yet, but Aqua Jet does take out the Spidops, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, you can see Double in the lead once again. So once again, fairly positive matchup for us as we are resisting the fast move pressure. The opponent this time is going to farm up to a potential wild charge, however. We're going to no shield, and they do just bait with a body slam. We're once again going to go for a Vice Grip bait here, and then potentially look to catch the next charge move onto our Anorith this time around, and we get a full Struggle Bug in as we swap out there. So body slam is resisted damage. They're going to come in with Bit Barrel, and we can just barely reach a Cross Poison before they get to a charge move or before they farm us down. Now, we actually get the boost there, which doesn't really help us out. We get off one boosted Struggle Bug, which is, I mean, hardly going to deal that much damage. But now we come in with the Armaldo. Unfortunately, they are so loaded on energy. They're already at back-to-back Surfs. We're going to double shield here. And if they reach another charge move, we are going to look to try and make a catch onto Pinsir. No, actually, never mind. We get the farm down and come out with a Vice Grip loaded. That is huge. Vice Grip is going to be no shielded. That is the correct play there, but we've got so much energy. The opponent does have the opportunity to make a catch, however, so we have to be very careful. Rock Blast is going to connect here as the opponent does not make the catch. Rock Blast gets the KO there. They come back in with the double, and we can Fury Cutter farm them down, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, Shadow Pinsir into Vigoroth. So this is going to be a positive matchup for us once again, as we are going to resist the fast move pressure. We are going to farm up. Well, the opponent is going to go straight for a body slam here. We're actually going to shield this time around, though. So we're going to shield there, and honestly, we're going to put them into range eventually where Vice Grip will KO, or at least put them into Fury Cutter farm down range. So we actually don't need to full send a close combat here, but we're actually going to bank the energy, come in with Armaldo, catch a resisted body slam, and then can we go for a full Fury Cutter farm down? Yes, we're able to do so. Huge for us, and they come in with a Pyroar. Now it looks like we're probably only going to reach one charge move, so go for Liquidation, as Liquidation does have the chance to debuff their defense, and we end up getting that debuff. Now we actually predict maybe that the opponent would be swapping out straight away, which is a huge call for us because they come in with Obstagoon, we shoot up the cross shot, we commit to a full farm down, and we have the Aqua Jet loaded, and because they're on Incinerate, we can go for one more Struggle Bug, fire off the Aqua Jet, get the KO up against the Pyroar, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Pinsir into the Dunsparce. So let's see what fast move they're on. They are going to be on Dragon Tail here, which is going to be ever so slightly slower to generate energy. However, of course, it's not that huge of a difference. Either way, we're going to go for a bait there, and then again swapping out, hoping to catch a body slam. The opponent does go for body slam, which is huge for us, as of course drill run, or if they're on rock side, would do a lot more damage. The opponent is going to go for another body slam this time around, and again, unfortunately, Anorith just not dealing enough damage here to commit to a farm down. So cross poison gets the KO there. They're going to come in with a, well, Poison Sting. Ariados, sorry, I forgot what that Pokemon was called for a second there. But we are now going to swap out into Armaldo. They've got so much energy. We're going to no-shield, and they do just settle for lunge. But honestly, that does do quite a lot of damage there. But we can reach a Rock Blast. Rock Blast, even debuffed, gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be an Umbreon. So this is actually kind of dangerous here because the opponent is now going to have to go for a full snarl farm down, as we can't quite swap out yet, so we will need to make a catch. The opponent has a lot of energy. We're going to shield the first charge move as the opponent goes for foul play, and we are going to swap out, make the catch. Perfect play there. Fire Script probably barely doesn't get the knockout, but now we can full send a close combat, and of course close combat is super effective damage. It takes out the Umbreon, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.